All right, we are going live, and we're going to give a couple of minutes for people to get online with Dan and I. Got a message from you that your internet's down. Is a backup, or are you hotspotting?
We're back up. We're back up just in time. Kind of took me from coming in on the hotspot. I saw that the internet was back online and scrambled to bounce over there, and I made it.
Lovely. Okay, I was moving our trailer over the weekend, and I was trying to push it up onto a block, strained my back. So if you hear a primal scream at some point in the broadcast, pay no attention.
Oh, okay. I'll just ignore that.
All right.
Normal suffering, right?
Now, as you know, this is the first time we've gone live, and I don't know if anybody's going to be on with us, but we do have Bruins fan on. Hi, Bruins fan. Good to see you here. So we do have somebody with us. And today we're going to do the NFL preview show. We're going to talk about the teams and pick the divisions, how we think they're going to play. And the next week we'll do week 1 picks. I thought about adding college picks, but I'm not sure. But we can talk about that at the end. We'll see.
All right. Sounds good.
Anyway, are we ready to begin?
I think so.
All right, here we go. Our first team up is the Buffalo Bills. What do you think of the Bills this year?
Strong team, got better. Both sides of the ball, I believe. I think they'll look pretty good on offense. I know they like the one of the running backs that they drafted a lot, so I expect that area to be a little more firmed up. The defense, adding Von Miller. I mean, I know he's a little long in the tooth and he's chasing rings at this stage of his career, but he's still a pretty good athlete. So I like him. I think they're going to win the AFC East this year.
I see Appa Lori has joined us, and she mentioned I didn't say hi, Appa Lori. Hi, Appa Lori.
Hi, Lori.
And she says hi back. Josh Allen to Stephon Diggs and Gabriel Davis is a pretty impressive situation. And we saw that in the playoffs last year, which I think was the greatest game I've ever seen. Right up there with that Christmas Day game that went 5 quarters with the Chiefs back in 71 with the Dolphins. But the Buffalo Bills, you know, I've been saying for 2 years they have not been physical enough, but they have gotten a little bit more physical as they go. They're going to have a tough start in week 1. They're going to start with the LA Rams. I guess the NFL decided they want a really big show for Thursday night to kick off the season.
That'll be fireworks right there.
Yeah, it's a really big show. So looking forward to that. I think we'll talk about each of the teams, and then when we get to the end of the division, we'll do our picks. Next up, we have the Miami Dolphins.
You said the Dolphins?
Yeah.
Well, they're going to have a lot of firepower and a lot of speed. I think they'll keep defensive coordinators up at night with the combination of Hill and Waddle. Kind of jury's out on Tua and whether he's their quarterback of the future. They've made it pretty clear with all the rumors going around that he was up on the block for Deshaun Watson for most of the year last year. I think that they have a fairly good defense. I love their defensive backs. I think that they've improved in free agency and a couple really nice draft picks, in my opinion, too.
Yeah, the Miami Dolphins, in spite of Hill saying that Tua is the most accurate passer in the NFL, he's got some competition. That guy from Kansas State Skylar Thompson had an unbelievable preseason. And, you know, I watched him in high school. He's from the Kansas City area. He played at Fort Osage High School. And when I saw him in high school, he looked like a man among boys then. And nothing he did at Kansas State changed my opinion about that. So I think if Tua struggles for the first few weeks, may take a look at Skylar Thompson.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be surprised. I wonder if teams will defend deep like they did the Chiefs. with Tyreek Hill. They went for it, last preseason game. They sent Hill on a fly pattern, and they nailed it. And he flew past the secondary. So I strongly suspect Teams will defend Miami the way they defended the Chiefs last year. It'll be up to Miami to figure that out. Okay, next up we've got the New England Patriots.
Well, by all accounts, Mac Jones has taken a leap in year 2. He's in really good shape. Their defense isn't as good, I think, as it was last year. They're really thin in the defensive backfield and old in a few spots. I don't always love their weapons. I think they have 2 of the better running backs in the league with Sessions and Harris. So their running attack could be very strong this season. Just impossible to pick them in fantasy because I think Belichick just has it out for fantasy players with his running backs. How about you?
New England will struggle, I think, on offense, and they've struggled a little bit in preseason, but it's going to be an old school, I think, a Marty Schottenheimer type approach with running backs, like you said, he passes to the tight end. But it's going to be difficult on offense. Mm-hmm. No Josh McDaniels. He went to be the head coach at
Oakland or Las Vegas.
Las Vegas. So he's going to be in our division now. Patriots are kind of descending. They were 10-7 last year. I'm not sure they're going to have a winning record this year because I think Miami, and of course Buffalo, are ahead of them in their division. But then there's the Jets.
There is the Jets. Great things to be said about the Jets. They've added a lot of pieces. They had an incredible first day of the draft there where they swooped in and picked up about 4 guys that are supposed to be really good steals for positions of need for them. The problem for the Jets is every position was a position of need after last year. So I think that I don't know what I think about Zach Wilson. I think he's had some off the field issues in the off season, and he can't seem to stay healthy. So I'd be concerned about picking them to make any noise this season.
Yeah, Joe Flacco's going to have to do it until Vance Wilson gets back. I do like Sauce Gardner. They withheld that nickname during preseason. I guess he has to earn his nickname. But he is Sauce Gardner. I think he'll play like Sauce Gardner. They had a rush man. They had a good draft. I really liked their draft this past year. And by the way, the 2023 draft, you know where that is. That's going to be across the street in Kansas City.
That's right, yes.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Oh, you're going to have a blast.
Oh, we are. But I don't see the Jets doing any better than 4-13. I watched that game, the last preseason game between the Giants and the Jets in the first half. Starters, and I thought the Giants pretty much had the upper hand. And I don't think the Giants are a whole lot to get excited about. All right, what's your picks, Dan, for the AFC East? Who do you think will come in first?
AFC East, I'm going to take the Bills, followed by Miami. And then I have the Pats. And trailing the field is our beloved New Jersey Jets.
I think it's between the Bills and Miami, this division. Miami's got some great skill players. But the Bills are the Bills, and they're still hungry. They've been right on the porch. And I see Miami really having no chance to win the division unless something catastrophic happens to Josh Allen. Then they might have a chance to compete.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to the AFC North. First, there is Baltimore.
Well, Baltimore, I think, is doing something fairly smart in going away from Marquise Brown, Hollywood Brown. I think that deep passing is not Lamar Jackson's game. He needs to be throwing the ball in the middle of the field and getting to the outside with his legs. That's what he excels at. I think that's what will work for their offense. But he doesn't have a ton of talent to throw to. So they're going to be running constantly. The defense is good. John Harbaugh is one of the most solid coaches in the NFL. I expect them to make a return to the playoffs this season. They're a pretty good ball club if they can stay healthy. They were, I think, the second or first most injured team last year. I would expect that to kind of regress back to the mean. I doubt that they would see every running back miss week 1 for 2 years in a row.
Well, they're investing more in ball control and running game. They don't have a contract yet for the quarterback, so that could go south. But I think he'll play.
Yeah, I think he's trying to earn more than they were willing to offer. Is the impression I got from the news reports I saw.
Yeah, J.K. Robbins is on their roster, isn't he? J.K.
Yeah,
Dobbins, running
Dobbins,
back.
the Ohio State back. Yeah,
He's injured. He'll be back. And they also added from Notre Dame Kyle Hamilton in the secondary. I think he'll play. I think he'll start.
They're going to start, from what I read, they're going to try to start 3 safeties in some packages. It should be interesting to see.
Yeah. Yeah, I've noticed there's some changes among some of the NFL teams. There's more of them going to a 3-4 defense.
Mm-hmm.
Baltimore's not one, but there's a few. I think Broncos are going to a 3-4. There's another team I noticed. It looks like they're going to a 3-4. They were 8-9 last year. I think they'll improve on that. Next up is the Cincinnati Bengals.
The Bengals got better. Magic run last season kind of broke my heart just a tiny bit. But Joe Burrow's probably one of the most accurate quarterbacks in the NFL. Not a surprise to anybody. He's got a great rapport. One of the best 1-2 punches as far as receivers go. Great back. And the defense is ascending, in my opinion. I expect them to possibly win this division. I would say they're the favorite for sure.
Have you been following the NFL Channel's top 100 players?
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, they put Joe Burrows at 20. Not sure about that. I think he's higher. And Josh Allen at 13. Are you kidding me? Can you think of 12 better players than Josh Allen?
That's rough. That's kind of disrespectful. That guy's pretty unstoppable. He's basically the LeBron James of football right now. That guy's a physical specimen.
I would say so. He's got to be the odds-on choice to be the MVP this coming year. If Mahomes doesn't get it, I think Josh Allen was almost a shoe-in, and they got him at the 13th best player. I don't get that. Cincinnati, I look at them, and I think their corners are kind of weak. I think you can pass against their corners. And their offense. Their offensive line, they gave up 7 sacks in the Super Bowl. Yeah. So they look to have improved it, but they need some improvement in the offensive line. 2021, they were the weakest division winner going into the playoffs. And then all that good stuff happened to them in the playoffs. It got them to the Super Bowl. With this team, I kind of think there might be a Super Bowl letdown. I think it might be kind of tough for them to achieve like they achieved last year. And I would especially look for, coming up and predicting their individual games, I'd look for trap games. Like, last year they lost to the Jets, of all people, after they played the Ravens.
Right.
So be careful of their trap games when they've got a tough opponent. Next team up, we'll go with the Cleveland Browns. Are trying to take these within the division in alphabetical order. This team's a tire fire here. Maybe they should be under the T's.
Yeah, I think maybe so. The Browns just can't get out of their own way. They get a mild amount of stability going, and they just blow it up. I get that Deshaun Watson's a talent, but when you have that solid of a roster to take that kind of a swing without knowing if the most important position on the field is going to be able to play is just wild to me. We knew Baker was playing hurt, and they weren't thrilled with what he was doing, but I just I don't expect too much from this team. I think they're going to struggle to pass the ball this season mightily. But the defense is very good, and they have two of the best running backs going, getting a little long in the tooth, but they're there.
We're joined by King Tuan Gaming. Thanks for joining us, King Tuan. And your comments are always appreciated, and I'll try to get them posted on the screen. The Cleveland Browns, they're stepping out of their quarterback controversy last year with Mayfield, and then they got the Watson mess. So it's going to be Jacoby Brissett leading them into the season. He's got Cooper to throw to, but good luck.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be difficult for Jacoby Brissett. They're going to need to rely, like you said, on these older running backs. I'm not sure why my phone's going off.
I didn't text you. I swear.
That could be my friend. He's a big Cleveland fan. So it'd be nice. He's telling me be nice to my Browns. But 3 years ago, I thought the Browns were one of the scariest teams in the AFC with that strong offensive line. They had some good receivers and a great running game, and they still have Myles Garrett on defense. But right now, Browns were 8-9 last year. They may not win 9 games this year. They've got a tough game. Somebody was reading their schedule to me. I was on a pregame pick show with Rob ! Last week, and they're reading like the first 6 games. I thought, man, how are they going to beat any of these teams? So I think it's going to be a tough year for the Browns. Next up, the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Well, Pittsburgh is excited about Pickett. He had a pretty good preseason, but I don't think he's ready for being a starter in the NFL quite yet, even though he got to stay home. Pretty cool story, getting picked by the hometown team, going to Pitt and then moving on to the Steelers. But they are an inconsistent team, pretty good defense, great weapons that drop a lot of balls. Their receivers, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, some of the most physically gifted receivers in the league, but some of the most inconsistent as far as making the plays. We'll see if Trubisky can make the most of another opportunity. I think he's mostly a stopgap, of course, but, he could shock the world. With the up and down quarterback play, though, I think they will struggle to return to the playoffs or even really break 500 this season.
They were 9-7-1 last year, and it's been since 2007 since they've had a losing season. And I'm going to kind of take issue here with your view of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think they're going to be one of the more improved teams if they fix their offensive line. The offensive line's got some problems protecting the quarterback, but they do have a good quarterback situation, whether it's Trubisky or Pickett. And I think Pickett could step in and be like a Justin Houston stepped in with the Chargers, because he's familiar with the surroundings. He played in that stadium, and he looked great in preseason. And the camaraderie between Trubisky and Pickett was really good. So we could be seeing a lot of Pickett to Pickens this year. George Pickens is a new wide receiver, but the offensive line has got to do better. That's the only thing. J.J. Watt had a little bit of a knee injury. I don't know how serious it was in that last preseason game. They still have Cam Hayward. They still have Najee Harris. And the tight end Freiermuth is a good ball player.
He is.
So I think Pittsburgh, based on how good that coach is, I think they stand a chance to improve on that 9-7-1 record from last year. All right, here we go. What's your picks for the AFC North?
AFC North. I'll go against you with Cincy. I think they've got something going there. I'll take them to win it. Ravens second, Steelers third, Browns fourth.
Yep. I'm going with, I think on Rod's show, I'm going to pick Cincinnati, but I reserve the right to change my mind every 5 minutes. So I'm picking Baltimore to win in the division. I think Cincinnati is going to fall back a little bit. And Pittsburgh is going to be more competition in that division. not looking for Cleveland to compete.
No, probably not.
All right, let's go
look good in his last 2 stops.
Let's go to the AFC South. And first up are the Houston Texans.
Houston Texans. I think this is one of the worst rosters I've ever seen. There's not really a player that I would want on that team other than maybe Brandon Cooks, and he's a smaller, speedier receiver, and they don't have the longest shelf life. Kind of just looking to see what they can get out of Davis Mills, but they're really not putting anything around him to help him succeed. I think it's kind of they're slow playing a rebuild that, I mean, is probably about 3 or 4 years away from looking like a real team.
Houston Texans, like you said, have holes all around Davis Mills, and it's kind of unfortunate because he really kind of came on as a quarterback last year. He is a decent NFL cornerback. Head coach Lovie Smith has not had a winning season as a head coach since 2012, and not going to happen here.
No chance.
Indianapolis Colts.
Well, I think they addressed their biggest issue was they had such inconsistent play out of Carson Wentz that it cost them a trip to the playoffs. That team is well built. They are solid throughout the offense and defense. They have weapons everywhere. They have Jonathan Taylor, who probably just took the torch from Derrick Henry this past season as the NFL's best running back. I love their potential. Matt Ryan can just be a steadying force for them, not make mistakes, get the ball out quick, and move it down the field. I really like the Colts this year. I think they're definitely in the playoffs. I expect them to win 10 to 12 games. Easy.
Colts are 9-8 last year, and as you said, they've added Matt Ryan, and I think that's an upgrade over Carson Wentz. Or we might find out though that Matty Ryan is kind of winding down. We'll see when the season starts.
You might be washed, yes.
Yeah, Jonathan Taylor, I agree with you there that he's becoming the premier running back, but there is more pressure this year on Jonathan Taylor, I think. Their defense is scrappy, and I agree. I think the Colts have a chance to improve their lot in life. Jacksonville Jaguars.
Weird team. No read on any of it, really. I know they added a lot of positions of need. They paid Christian Kirk a fortune, the Arizona receiver, way overpaid for a few of their free agents. Can't really count last season for Trevor Lawrence. I mean, it was such a mess with Urban Meyer and his, I don't know what to call that. It was bad, whatever it was. He was hitting players and not showing up to things and didn't know anybody's name and yelling at and abusing his assistant coaches. I don't think any rookie quarterback could thrive in that situation. So I'm optimistic about the Jaguars. I think they could make some noise in a pretty weak division this year.
You think they can win more than 3 games?
I think like 5 or 6 probably.
Okay.
Is probably where they're at.
My assessment of the Jacksonville Jaguars is Trevor Lawrence has got to throw more touchdowns than interceptions, so he's got to improve in that area. Dave Peterson is a good head coach. He rebuilt Philadelphia. He might rebuild Jacksonville. They are looking at upgrading the defense when they got Trayvon Walker from Georgia, and they got Josh Allen. So they got 2 pretty good rushers there. Josh Allen, by the way, is not the 13th best player in the NFL. It's the other Josh Allen, who's also not the 13th best player in the NFL. But this
that was an entertaining game last year, though. The one win they had against Buffalo, the Josh Allen versus Josh Allen game, that was pretty good.
And then last up in the AFC South is the Tennessee Titans.
The Titans are probably nearing the end of their window to be an elite team. I think Mike Vrabel is an excellent coach. Have all the respect in the world for him.
That could be one of our logos fell off. They should have a logo on both sides, so maybe they are near the end of the window.
It's falling apart. I mean, Derrick Henry's back, and they say he looks great. Running backs just once they hit that, that wall and start to pick up injuries, especially foot, knee, and ankles, it becomes difficult to be the same guy. And that guy carries a lot of weight. So, it's going to be one of those things. They got rid of A.J. Brown to the Eagles just basically to pick up a rookie who looks pretty good from camp, but he's not A.J. Brown. I mean, it's wild. To do that when you're a team that was the number one seed in the AFC going into the playoffs last season. I think with less around him, Ryan Tannehill might struggle a little bit more. And I think their defense has lost a step a little. They just didn't look too tough toward the end of last year. But we'll see. They're a prove-it team. I'm just a little down on them.
Okay. When they lost A.J. Brown, I don't think they replaced him. They drafted that guy from Arkansas, Burks, and he's not had a great spring training.
No.
From what I've read.
They got a first-round pick, I believe, for him that they used on Burks, was what I meant.
Yeah.
Is that not right?
Yeah. Well, I know Burks is on their roster, and they were hoping he would help replace.
Yeah.
And it's not working out. He's up out of shape, and he's not had a good preseason, so he probably won't get on the field for a while. So Tannehill is going to be out there. Malik Willis, the backup quarterback's looking good from Liberty in preseason. If their offense doesn't move, they got a heck of a punter, Stonehouse.
I saw that 80-yarder.
It was literally 78 yards. That was a bomb.
Yeah.
It brought rain. Tough in the trenches. That's the one thing about Tennessee. Both defensive and offensive lines are good. And I think when you're good in both trenches, that gives you a chance. So how do you see the AFC South shaping up?
Well, I love the Colts this season. I really do think this is a good year for them. I've got the Titans behind them. And then how do you have it the rest of the way? I was beating myself up on this one. This was one of the only ones I had trouble with.
I think this is the weakest division in the AFC.
Oh, definitely.
So,
yeah.
I've got Tennessee number one. I like Mike Vrabel. He'll figure something out. Indianapolis number two, and then I'll put Jacksonville 3 and Houston 4, but neither one are going to win very many games.
Yeah, Jacksonville's, I think, is pretty clearly the better team. The Texans just did nothing to get better.
All right, let's move to the AFC West.
Oh, boy.
And this could be the highlight of the show because I think it's a strong division. It's maybe the strongest.
Yeah, it's definitely the group of death, like they say in the World Cup this season. So Denver, I'll just say I have them fourth, and it's a tough call for me because they have a good roster. They really do. It's going to be tough for them to stay with these teams. I love what the Raiders and Chargers have done. The Chiefs can't really pick against them till somebody knocks them off. So I have the very talented Denver Broncos with a hopefully rejuvenated Russell Wilson, probably winning about 7-8 games.
Oh, wow. Denver won 7 games last year, but I do think they're going to improve with Russell Wilson. He is a special quarterback. And they got a running game. That Devontae Williams is the hardest man in the NFL to bring down. He is a tough tackle. And the Chiefs really had trouble with him. And they also have Melvin Gordon III. Mm-hmm. They got a defense, and they got wide receivers. So I'm looking for Denver to be the main competition for Kansas City. And actually, in a weak moment on Rob's show, I picked Denver too.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm regretting that. that might change.
Mm.
Lloyd and I got a chance to go through Denver Stadium when we went to Denver on vacation. Well, and Suzanne and your wife enjoyed that trip through the stadium.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, they loved it.
All right, let's talk about the Chiefs.
Well, Chiefs are consistent. They're up there every year. Don't totally trust the defense any year, it seems like. But I do have faith in Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, and it looked pretty smooth in the preseason. They were moving the ball and scoring with very little trouble. A lot of new faces to factor in there. We're going to see how the defense does early. They always struggle because of the Spagnuolo way of putting the whole defense into these guys' heads before they have a chance to learn basic concepts. I've never understood why he does that, but it's his defense, and we'll see what happens. I like the Chiefs to win the division. I think that it's the toughest year that they'll have if they do manage that.
Yeah, I think they'll lose more in division games than they have in the past. All right, the Chiefs, they have been working on the defense. Now, last year, the project was to rebuild the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
And they did a great job rebuilding the offensive line, and they're all back. Now the focus is on rebuilding the defensive side of the ball. And I think we're going to see they've done the job there, too. Carl Office has had a great preseason. They are counting on him. Frank Clark has lost some weight. He said he got a little bit of a tummy and lost a little speed off his first step. And so I think we'll see more out of Frank Clark this year than we have in the past. They added Chris Dunlap, but he got injured, so I don't know when he's coming.
Yeah.
And secondary is looking good. And I got to believe our linebackers are some of the best linebackers in football. Nick Bolton was superb last year, and Willie Gay is superb. And they drafted Leo Chanel from Wisconsin. He looked good in preseason. I don't know how much early on he's going to get on the field, but I think down the road he's going to help a lot too. Especially the Chiefs were a little bit weak against running teams, and I think Chanel will answer that call pretty well. Kalen Saunders, defensive tackle, number 99, is coming on. I think he will help a lot as well. Now, we lost Tyreek Hill. That's the big topic of the offseason. Tyreek Hill, by the way, was third in the league in drop passes, so just one comment there.
This too is more accurate. That's what it is.
Yeah, right. It was all Mahomes' fault.
Yeah.
Mahomes' ball is a little difficult to catch, and you really got to be on your toes because you don't know where he's throwing the ball. You might not be looking at it, and here it comes at 100 miles an hour. So he is difficult, yes. But with Juju Smith and Marquez Valdez, MVS, I can't get his last name right, and we hope McCall Hardman steps up this year. They've still got speed. They still got three guys who are 4.3. And who's the new draft pick? Skyler Moore? Yeah. Oh, yeah, Skyler Moore. He's fast. And I think he'll get on the field right away and make a contribution right away. They haven't made the cuts yet. I think they're going to keep Ronald Jones because CEH has just not made it through seasons.
No.
And then you got McKinnon, but they're going to need Ronald Jones in there, I think, to get through the year. So he's going to stay. See, there's only two teams. Bruno says there's only two teams in the AFC better than all the teams in the Afc West strong division. That brings us to the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers were kind of a disappointing 9-8, but I don't think that was because of the talent on the roster. I think it was mostly the head coach. Go ahead, Dan.
Well, he hasn't changed. They're still going to play that aggressive style, I'm sure. He's made additions offensively and defensively. They've got a great receiving room. Herbert's got one of the best arms in the league. He's incredible. This team is going to be very flashy. They're really going to be able to get after the ball. I like them adding Khalil Mack. That's a big deal. Really, they'd been missing a presence on the other side of Joey Bosa. since Melvin Ingram left. So that gives them kind of the bookend defensive ends that they've had success with. This was the one where I just didn't know where to go between the Raiders and the Chargers this season. I think the Chargers are going to take a big step forward in consistency. It's just the dominoes that fall when Staley makes those weird calls on the fourth downs, and defensively he's always doing something a little off the wall. So I think they'll have a good season, but I think the Raiders will be better than they are.
Okay, the Chargers last year were a disappointing 9-8. I think they will also improve. This team has all pro players in every position group. You name the position group, and they got an all-star there. It is a team of superstars. And the part that the Chiefs struggle with the most, and a lot of teams struggle with the most, is the receivers. They're tall, big, tall receivers are tough to cover. So we got bigger defensive backs this year. We'll see how that works out.
Right. Yeah. We need everybody above 6'2".
But Los Angeles, they've got the Coach Staley has got to stop going for every fourth down. I mean, just stop it. Just stop it, and you're going to win more games.
Exactly. It's as simple as that. You can't get more talent than they have.
Las Vegas Raiders.
Oof. Another very, very talented team. They added to the defense. Getting Jones over from the Cardinals really is going to help, I think. Having two elite rushers on that defense is really going to take pressure off their defensive backs, who are kind of a scrappy group. That's a pretty good group right there, that defensive backfield. And my goodness, the three-headed monster that they have Derrick Carr throwing to, I think Devontae Adams and Cooper Kupp are 1A and 1B as far as best receivers in the league. To have Adams, Darren Waller, and Hunter Renfrow to throw to, they're going to be hard to stop.
Hunter Renfrow killed us last year.
Oh, he's incredible. His triple move is unstoppable, in my opinion.
He's Fred Biletnikoff incarnate.
Exactly.
Close to Fred Biletnikoff. That's who Hunter Renfrow is.
Yeah.
He just needs more stick him and goop on his hands.
Right. Yeah. Just layer it on. Have you seen the Peyton's places where they have Biletnikoff on and they do all the stick 'em?
No, I haven't, but I bet they had a blast with that.
Oh, they did. Peyton's catching balls like this. It's just sticking to his forearm and everything. It's great. But yeah, Renfrow probably best hips in the league as far as getting in and out of cuts.
Okay, I agree with everything you said. Las Vegas last year was 10-7. The one word I have is I've been watching them. I watched 2 of their preseason games. They won all 4 of their preseason games. That doesn't tell you anything. But I watched a lot of their offensive line play and their defensive line play, and their fundamentals weren't great. And unless they clean that up, they're going to have some problems. I do think Derrick Carr is an elite quarterback. A lot of people like to criticize him, but he gives the Chiefs a hard time. And he beat the Chiefs, in the last couple of years, at least once.
Very underrated.
Yeah. Carr can get them where they want to go. He's not the reason they don't succeed. I think their biggest problem is line play. Crosby's good at defensive end, but he could kind of poop out toward the end of games sometimes. Yeah. And again, their offensive line, they just don't play low. Their fundamentals aren't great. Now watch them change that, and then all of a sudden, we're real good. Right. So here we go. What's your picks for the AFC West?
I have Chiefs, Raiders, Chargers, Broncos. And my youngest disagreed with me heartily on my Broncos pick.
Where does he think the Broncos?
Oh, he's got them winning.
Oh, boy. We're going to Lori? You got some work to do here. Okay, I've got Kansas City 1, Denver 2, and the LA Chargers 3. But any of those 3 teams can win it. I don't think Vegas is going to win it. And I got Vegas 4. All right, let's go to the NFC. First, the NFC East and the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, the Cowboys are once again in a division that they should win, but the Eagles are right there. They took it from them last year, and I mean, they lost a lot of pieces. They've got a lot of key injuries to start the season. We're really looking a little like we're regressing in Dallas, which is a little odd. I mean, Dak's going to have a big year probably. CeeDee Lamb's going to catch a million balls, but I think they're worse defensively. They were really reliant on interceptions last year. You never get the same success year to year with the interceptions. And the guy getting the picks, Diggs, I mean, he gives up a ton of big plays to play like that. I mean, he's selling out to get the picks, and he gets burnt as many times as it works out for him, if not more times, in my opinion. Ezekiel Elliott's another year older. He's really not shown a whole lot these past few years. Tendency to get dinged up, and losing Amari Cooper in that receivers room, I don't know if that's addition by subtraction.
Tyrone Smith, number 77, their offensive line, who is their best offensive lineman, is out for months. That's a hamstring. And somebody came up with the stat that when he's not on the field, the Cowboys are minus 1 yard rushing than they usually are. So that is, for one offensive lineman to make that big of a difference, that's pretty big. He is their left tackle. They still have Mike McCarthy as the head coach. I think that's a problem.
Yeah. That'd be great in like 2006, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, they do have to play defense, like you mentioned, with Micah Parsons and Diggs. They got good skill possessions, but yeah, Pollard, I think, needs to be the number one back, not Ezekiel Elliott. I don't know why they've never been able to make that change. And the other thing about the Dallas Cowboys is that they are a highly, highly penalized team. In the preseason, they averaged 11.7 penalties for 99 yards. That's twice the NFL average. They cannot do that in the regular season and win 12 games.
No.
So I think I'm looking for the Cowboys to make a step back. Then we got the New York Giants.
You know, the Giants can't get worse, right? They've got a grown-up in the room at head coach now. They've really gotten a little bit better. I know Thibodeau's out for just a few games, but he looked very good in the preseason. I think that they're a little better on offensive line. They're going to start doing a little bit more offensively to make up for the shortcomings. I don't see this team getting much better, but I expect them to win about 5-6 games. And Daniel Jones, it's kind of his prove-it year. Last year really was, but, I mean, this is his last chance to be a starter in the NFL. So we'll see if he can.
He should make some strides this year. He's got a healthy Saquon Barkley. Still has Kenny Galladay, and he still has Kadarius Toney. They're decent receivers. They're not elite receivers. But the big upgrade for the Giants is Brian Dable, the head coach. Mm-hmm. And he is a pretty sharp guy. I think he'll run the games, and he will relate to the team way better than that last coach they had.
Ooh, he was rough.
That last coach, they probably had a mutiny. We just didn't know about it. You used to call him Mr. Wannabe Tough Guy.
Yeah.
That just doesn't fly in the NFL these days. Jones was 14 of 16 in his last preseason game, so he looks like he's ready to go.
Yeah, he had a great preseason.
Yeah. So I look for them to win more than 4 games, and they will outplay the New York Jets, their counterparts. Next, we have the Philadelphia Eagles.
This is by far my favorite team in the division. I think that they're trending up. They just keep adding weapons. I think Hurts gets a little better every year. Whether that leads to a 10-year career in the NFL, I'm not sure. He makes some pretty rough mistakes, but he was good enough to get them into the playoffs last season and get crushed by the Bucs. So I think that having A.J. Brown out there, with Devontae Smith. That's a scary duo right there. I mean, those wideouts are great. That defense is pretty solid. They're not missing too many pieces. They get after the quarterback pretty well, and I always like their defensive schemes seem to work very well. And they made upgrades at a few positions in free agency in the draft. I expect them to win this division pretty easily.
I agree. I think their schemes work out well because they have probably the best offensive line and best defensive line in the division. So if you can start there, Jalen Hurts should succeed. And with the addition of A.J. Brown, like you said, I think Jalen Hurts will take a step forward this year. Some people are down on him, but I think he's a good quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, next is I don't have a new Washington Commanders. That'll be forthcoming. We'll get that lovely W up there.
They'll change that name before you can get a hold of the helmet, I bet.
They should change that name.
They really should.
Go back to the drawing board on that one.
Yeah, it's a tough one. But, Washington, the quarterback situation, I think the Colts are basically paying the Commanders to start Carson Wentz. That's probably not a good situation to be in. If another team is paying almost the entire salary of the player you have as your starting quarterback, you're probably not in a good situation. I love Terry McLaurin. I love the running backs. They've got a couple really good ones there. Chase Young's hurt, so that'll be a problem for him to start the year. Defense, they're okay. They've got a lot of first rounders out there that have been with the club for years, but I just don't see a lot of hope for our good friend Dan Snyder's Commanders.
They are committed to Carson Wentz. He'll be throwing McLaren, a very good receiver, and also Gibson. They're so on the offensive line. So yeah, if Wentz is playing behind a so offensive line, that's going to lead to trouble. And then on defense, I think they're pretty strong up front, even though without Young. But secondary, I think, has got problems. I don't like their secondary. And it's unfortunate, rookie running back Brian Robinson, who looked like he was going to be starting. He got shot in an attempted carjacking twice. Not life-threatening, and he will be back, but it'll take some recovering time. So what do you see for the finish of the NFC East?
Well, I've got the Eagles. Then I've got the Cowboys. I really wanted to pick the Giants there, but I'd
like to see that actually.
Yeah, it's a good pick. I really do think that Dallas is going to be pretty rough to watch this season. But I think they can maybe win a couple more games than the Giants. Giants third, Commanders last.
Well, I think it's between the Eagles and Cowboys to win this division, and I'm also going with the Philadelphia Eagles. I got the Cowboys 2, New York 3, and Washington 4. Let's go to the NFC North, and first the Chicago Bears.
At the end of Justin Fields' career, he should probably use tape from this season as part of a lawsuit against the Chicago Bears because they might be trying to get him killed. That offensive line is atrocious. I don't care how fast Fields runs. He's going to get hit so many times this year. It's going to take years off of his NFL career. He's got nobody to throw to. The running back, David Montgomery, is the only real bright spot on the offense. And this is just, if you're going to take a guy with the second pick, it's just a shame that they can't be more professional about it and try to protect him. I think the Bears are going to have a terrible season this year. Their defense is okay, but they've lost pieces. They're in full rebuild. Unfortunately, they spent a second-round pick in the middle of a rebuild on a quarterback, and that's going to set him back years.
Yeah, the offensive line was criminal last year. It didn't get any better. So Yeah, it's going to be a tough year for Justin Fields. It does have Darryl Mooney to throw to. He's a decent wide receiver. Yeah, Montgomery is a good running back. Defense is unhappy. Raekwon Smith wanted to be traded and wasn't quite about it. He was pretty vocal. They didn't trade him. He says he's going to go out and play his best, but it's not the greatest motivation to go into the season with.
No, and he's a leader on that defense. He's one of the better players they still have.
Next up are the Spunky Detroit Lions.
Oh, man, love this team. They're a lot of fun. Dan Campbell might be the best head coach I've ever seen on Hard Knocks. Phenomenal stuff from him. He's definitely a former tight end. He gets after him. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's a phenomenal player. Running back's a strong point. They've got a couple guys in that room that really pop. I think the defense, getting Aiden Hutchinson, is huge. Pretty good, solid unit back there. Like the DBs pretty well. They're really building in the draft, and what they can get in free agency's been working out okay. I think this team's coming up. I expect them to be quite a bit better than last season.
I need a few more flashlights. I'm going light, and then it gets dark. And I got 1, 2, 3, 4 lights within 15 inches or so. I mean, and this is what it should look like, but sometimes I go dark. The Lions do have some good wide receivers from last year. St. Brown, he was a good wide receiver, but they've added Jameson Williams from Alabama, and they got DJ Shark. Got a decent tight end in Hawkinson.
Oh, he's great. Love him.
I thought it was kind of a dirty block he threw. He cut somebody down on that last preseason game, but he looked sorry about it. And I never thought of him as a dirty player. Jeff Goff is inconsistent. That might be because his offensive line is inconsistent, but he's got some receivers to throw to. Too many holes on defense, though. In spite of Hutchinson, Hutchinson had a good preseason, and I do look for Detroit Lions to win a few more games than 3 in 13. And they were so entertaining last year. I don't see it backing down. I think they'll be entertaining this year. Next is Green Bay Packers.
Hard to know what to do with these guys other than Aaron Rodgers is still back there. That defense is still elite. He'll be kind of in a similar situation to Mahomes, where he's just learning how to play a little bit differently without a favorite target. Quarterbacks as good as Rodgers have proved that they can do that. What I am nervous about is how critical he has been of the young players on the team in the offseason, like publicly critical of the receivers, of some of the linemen, and that's just really not how you want to go about doing business. But
yeah, I think everybody goes into this knowing Aaron Rodgers is not going to be your, popular class president win in the election type guy.
But the guy that they picked to replace him is not going to be an NFL quarterback. There's no way. Watching him play in the preseason, it's ugly.
It looked like that Chiefs last year.
Yeah. So I think they're going to be solid. They'll probably win 10, 11 games just on the merit of Rodgers being the quarterback and that defense being as good as they are, but not a lot of pieces to go out and win anything of significance.
Green Bay was 13-4 last year. I don't think they're going to win as many games this year. I don't think they're going to fall off the cliff. But they're going to have to run the ball more with Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon, and they probably can. And they on defense, they added two. I think both these guys are from Georgia, Devontae White and Quay Walker, so that can't hurt your defense. I think it's going to help an already good defense. So I don't see Green Bay falling off the cliff, but I don't think they're going to win 13 games. Next up are the Minnesota Vikings.
Vikings have a good team. I think getting a new head coach in there, they've had a pretty strong effect in the past on a team with a fairly good roster. I think that they'll kind of come out of the Stone Ages where they were defensively. I think that it could rejuvenate a Danielle Hunter. Harrison Smith is still back there. He seems not to age, the safety for them. And Justin Jefferson is right on the heels of Adams and Cup as far as receiving talent. That guy is phenomenal. Cousins is the most vanilla quarterback I'll probably ever talk about. He doesn't raise a lot of ships, but he doesn't sink a lot. And their running back Dalvin Cook is a heck of a player.
Yep, two superstars, Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson. New head coach Kevin O'Connell used to be the line coach at the Rams. This is that team that's changing to a 3-4 defense. Broncos, at least that's what they've been working on in preseason. So Vikings last year were 8 and 9. I think they're going to be kind of similar this year. What do you have for the order of the NFC North teams? I lost your sound.
Sorry about that. I'm going to do kind of an upset pick a little bit. I don't know how revolutionary this is going to be, but I've got the Vikings winning it this season. If there's a year for them to win this division, this has got to be it. The Bears are bad. The Lions are kind of middle of the pack, and the Packers definitely took a step back roster-wise. Losing Devontae Adams is just huge. I mean, the rapport Rodgers and he had was special. So him leaving the building, that's going to be hard to replace. The Vikings are supremely talented.
So you got Vikings 1, Green Bay 2?
Vikings 1, Green Bay 2, Lions, and then Bears.
Okay, I had Green Bay 1, Minnesota 2, Detroit 3, and Chicago 4. Yeah. All right, let's go to the NFC South and the Atlanta Falcons.
Oh, Atlanta. At least they're not doing what the Bears are doing to Fields, but I don't know what they have outside of Kyle Pitts. Calvin Ridley is out for the season because of a gambling suspension. The offense is not going to be very exciting, I don't think. Going to have a lot of trouble moving the ball. I hope that Desmond Ridder, the rookie quarterback from Cincinnati, gets a good look at the starting job about middle of the season. I think he could be a good pickup for them and give them kind of a bright spot for the future. Their defense isn't very good. They have a great kicker, though, and he has an awesome name. But other than that, I don't think very much of the Atlanta Falcons.
They were 7-10 last year. I do think they have a decent quarterback situation. I'm not high on Marcus Mariota, but they do have a good backup in Desmond Ridder. I think Ridder had a good preseason.
He did.
And I think their offense is going to look a lot like New England's, and they're going to have to run the ball a lot and use the tight end a lot. Last year, it kind of shocked me how long it took them to get Kyle Pitts involved. It took about 3 or 4 weeks for them to realize he was on the roster. But after that, he kind of showed what he can do. So, they're going to have to do a lot of writing of Cordell Patterson and Kyle Pitts. So it's going to be kind of like a Marty Schottenheimer old school type of offense, I think.
Yeah.
They got 8 on defense. They got A.J. Terrell on. He's the only name I know on defense.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty anonymous roster.
Yeah, they might have a problem stopping people.
Yes.
Next up are the Carolina Panthers.
Well, the Panthers are going to be fairly average, I think. I don't think they'll be an absolute disaster. They're pretty good on defense. I like a few players out there for them. The receiving's up and down. Those receivers are pretty inconsistent. We'll see if Baker Mayfield can raise their ceiling. I think he can. He's a solid quarterback, and I mean,
He's healthy. He's healthy.
Yeah, he's healthy finally. Let's see what he can do. I think he'll show us something this year. I'm pretty sure. But the Panthers offense will kind of go as Mayfield and hopefully healthy Christian McCaffrey go. So we'll see how that turns out.
Okay, they had a quarterback battle between Darnold and Mayfield. Mayfield wins, and I think he was going to win.
Yeah.
He was definitely going to start the first game against Cleveland. You can bet on that.
I can't wait.
Darnold's got a significant high ankle sprain, so it might be a while before he comes back. He may not be ready when the season starts. The other big question on this Carolina Panthers team is Christian McCaffrey is kind of fragile.
He is.
He gets hurt.
He's glass.
If he's on the field, he's good, but they got to figure out a way to keep him on the field. The defense has some up-and-coming stars, but I got problems with the head coach, Matt Rule. I don't like the way he coaches.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't like him at Baylor.
Yeah, he hasn't changed in that respect.
No.
In the pros. He believes in the no-fun league. New Orleans Saints.
Saints are interesting. It's a weird division in that they are the team that seems to never lose to the Bucks. They can play with the Bucks. And it's just kind of a weird oil and water situation. So they, with Jameis back and kind of maybe a more mature Jameis, I'm optimistic about the Saints this year. They're always great on defense. Michael Thomas is finally back. They added a great receiver in Olave in the draft. And those Ohio State receivers, man, those guys can go. And they're solid. Your criteria for the good teams, they're solid on both sides of the line. Well coached there. I expect them to get a wild card spot.
They have a good offensive line. I think their left tackle retired, but they replaced him with Trevor Penning in the draft. I think he's a good pick. Olave and Thomas is going to be an outstanding. And they got Jarvis Landry also from Cleveland. And then they still got Alvin Kamara as a running back. Yeah. Dennis Allen, the head coach, thinks more on defense. He was a defensive guy. I think the Saints are going to be a handful this year. They were 9-8 last year. I think they're going to improve upon that this year. Let's go to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Well, Tampa's good. They've got a great team. I'm sure Brady's so happy to be in the NFC with all of these great teams in the AFC that he has to no longer really worry about, except on a couple of off weeks here and there. They're gonna probably cut through this season as they have in the past. So I would expect them to win this division. Just too much talent. And the defense maybe a little bit thin on the defensive backfield, but they have tried to patch that up after a rough end of last year where it seemed like everybody was hurt.
Okay, Tom Brady missed 12 preseason practices. And then he came, was it this morning or yesterday, he came clean and said he had some stuff to deal with. And that's what happens when you get to be 44 years old, I guess. And they let you get away from 12 practices. But when he was doing that press conference, he looked kind of haggard. I mean, did you notice that?
Yeah, he looked a little rough.
He didn't look like a on top of the mountain Tom Brady. I think the biggest challenge this year is to replace the interior of that offensive line. The left guard, the right guard, and the center. They got to replace all three of those guys. They got two decent tackles, but Tom Brady's when they find somebody from the middle, because if they rush up the middle, he can't run around the edge.
No,
he doesn't want to be sacked at 40. Is he 44 or 45 years old?
I think he's 45 now.
Yeah, 45. He doesn't want to be dodging tacklers at 45 and can't.
No.
So I think Tampa will have a good year. I don't think they're going to win 13 games, but boy, they better find some offensive linemen in the middle. Okay, what's the order of finish for the NFC South? Then we'll do the NFC West.
So I did a little bit of back and forth, but ultimately I went with I went Bucks, then I went Saints, then I went Panthers, and then the last one.
I'm going with New Orleans first. I think New Orleans will pass Tampa Bay.
Wow, big pick.
So I'm going out on a limb on that one. I got Tampa 2, Carolina 3, and Atlanta 4. All right, let's go to the NFC West and the Arizona Cardinals.
Cardinals are, that team that just you want to believe in and you want to like, but I don't know. Kyler Murray is a supremely talented athlete. Deandre Hopkins is suspended again. It seems like it's an every year thing. He's either getting hurt or suspended for
just in time for the Chiefs game.
Yeah, exactly. So Kyler is not as good of a quarterback when Hopkins is not there. But he will be back, and the Cardinals are famous for starting off fast and then fading toward the end of the year. I think that they'll probably get to about 9 or 10 wins pretty easily, but I don't expect them to be much better than they were. They've lost a few pieces, Chandler Jones, Christian Kirk, some guys that were important on both sides of the ball.
Kyler Murray has started off the last 3 seasons like a house of fire, and then he's faded to the end of the year all 3 times. So
he doesn't look like he wants to run the ball sometimes. Like, he's got lanes. He could get out there and get 10, 15 yards easy.
Maybe he wears down. Yeah, maybe he wears down toward the end of the season. Do you know they have in his contract that he's supposed to study the playbook for 4 hours a day?
Yeah. That's not a good sign, is it?
No, it is not a good sign.
Yeah.
I can tell Andy Reid would not have him as his quarterback.
No.
I mean, if he had to put that in his contract. Andy Reid said when they drafted Mahomes, he went down and talked to Mahomes for 6 hours, and Reid said he couldn't believe his retention of all that he threw at him in those 6 hours. And that's the kind of guy he likes. He would not like having Kyler Murray.
No.
We've got older stars on both the offense and the defense. I mean, how much are you going to get out of Watt? I mean, when you get older, you just get hurt more frequently.
Yeah, he's got a bad history.
And they don't have on defense. They don't have Chandler Jones. You remember what a strong start he got off to last year. I think he had 5 sacks first game.
Yeah, it was incredible. Nope. In Oakland.
Arizona's secondary is suspect. I think the Chiefs are going to line it up.
Yeah.
Los Angeles Rams.
LA Rams, they'll be good again. I think they're pretty solid. They've got elite skill players in some spots. We'll see how right Matt Stafford is. He's had the elbow issues.
He's got a sore elbow. Yeah,
that's never good for an older quarterback. So I mean, it's a wait and see for them. I think Aaron Donald is still the most devastating defensive player in the entire league. He looked mean in preseason. Like he wanted to get after it again and go win.
That's the one thing I missed in the Super Bowl. Chiefs not making the Super Bowl. I wanted to see how he did against Trey Smith or Joe Thuney, whichever side he was on. I thought that was going to be one heck of an interesting matchup, but we didn't get to see that.
Yeah, we got robbed. Oh well. But yeah, great team. I expect them to probably be the class of this division.
Yeah, that sore elbow for Stafford, that's the sort of thing that could go on for much of the season. The defense is still looking strong with Donald and Jalen Ramsey, and they got Bobby Wagner.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of old, but he's still good. So
yeah, it's like an NFL Pro Bowl from like 5 years ago. It's great.
Next up, San Francisco 49ers.
So the Niners are the only team that I think that can challenge the Rams in this division. Big question mark, quarterback. Just don't know what we're going to see from him. So I'm going to take the incumbent.
They just re-signed Jimmy Garoppolo a few hours ago before the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is bizarre to me.
He's the highest paid backup quarterback in the NFL now.
I mean, I get you need insurance policy in case this doesn't work out, but he's going to be looking over his shoulder all season. When's the hook coming? If he makes a mistake, if he throws a pick, I don't think you do that to a young quarterback, especially in his first year as the guaranteed starter. He's got enough to worry about without worrying about somebody coming in and taking the job from him. So I would worry about that. Other than that, great on defense, great on offense. Should be a good year for the Niners.
Signing Jimmy G, it's kind of a situation I don't think it's like the situation that the Chiefs had where they had Alex Smith mentor Patrick Mahomes. I think you would have seen more improvement in the preseason if that had been going on last year with Jimmy G and Vance Wilson. I mean, we didn't see that improvement. So I think it's likely that Jimmy G is going to be in there playing quarterback as a first stringer, probably pretty quick. But Vance Wilson's got some people to work with, Deebo Samuel, and he's got good receivers. Defense is strong. Nick Bosa and Fred Warner are back.
Yep, two of the best
and
in the league.
I always like the San Francisco's running game. I love their running schemes. And they've always seemed to be able to run the ball. And I think that will continue. Seattle Seahawks.
We'll see if there's any magic left up there in Seattle. I don't know. Jake Lock's a tough ask for a starting QB at this stage of his career. They re-signed DK Metcalf. They don't have much going on either line right now. The defense is pretty decimated. Team's in a full rebuild, and hopefully they can turn it around in the next couple years. I do like Rashad Penny a lot, the running back.
Yeah, Penny's a good running back. They have a very iffy offensive line. Drew Lock's going to be the backup. They named Geno Smith as the starter. And sometimes Geno Smith, he looks like $1 million like for a half, and then he'll play another half where he just goes on. He's just very inconsistent. He's got the receivers with Lockett and Metcalf, and the tight end Noah Fant is pretty good. But their defense is weak, and their secondary is downright porous. So I think Seattle will be stretched to win 7 games like they did last year. I don't think they're going to win 7 games.
They'd be lucky to get 3 or 4.
Okay, here we go. What's your lineup for the NFC West?
NFC West, I have the Rams. I have the Niners. And then I've got the Cardinals, and then I will go with the Seahawks.
I got the same thing, Rams, Niners, Cards, and Seahawks. Who do you think is going to go to the Super Bowl this year?
Ooh, ouch. I knew this was coming. Hard to pick against Buffalo, but my homer pick is is to see the Chiefs play a rematch against Tampa Bay. I think that would be a great game, and I think we could win that game. But I would say that if I had to go on record, I'd say probably Bills. And then it gets tough. Who do you have?
Well, on Rod's show, I had to go with Buffalo.
Yeah, hard not to. They look like world beaters this year.
Yeah, if they didn't kick it deep to the end zone, they might have beat us last year.
Yeah.
Well, they shouldn't have done that. So I got Buffalo, and they're going to be a super hungry team. I mean, they've been right on the doorstep for 2 years. They've shown that they can correct their flaws and in big, in spades. And that's something that Andrew Reid does for the Chiefs.
Mm-hmm.
It may take them a while, but they get their problems fixed. And Buffalo is just that way too. Now I'm looking at my NFC helmets, and I think it does come down to Rams and Packers.
Right.
I think both defenses are super strong, but I want to see the Rams play the Chiefs.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I want to see.
That's the one. Good.
It's going to be, but I think since we're picking, it's going to be Buffalo, though.
Sure.
Yeah.
Tough to say, but yeah, I like it. It's a good pick.
Hoping for
that. Exactly.
Yeah. But picking the other. Dan, thanks much for joining us. It's been a fun hour and 10 minutes or 15 minutes or so. Very first live stream. I have been scared to death to do live stream. I'm afraid I'll do all kinds of mistakes. You ever saw the Honeymooners with Ralph Crandon? There was with the episode where Ralph Crandon was supposed to guess songs. He was on a game show, and so they play a little clip of the song, and he knew the songs, but it was and that's kind of the way I thought I'd be with live streams.
Right, yeah. A couple times I was like, "Oh no, I don't know," but you did great. Thank you so much for having me. It was a blast.
Too, Dan, we miss having Justin. Justin will probably be sending us his picks and may try to join us on some shows. He still works nights, and made the decision we're going to go live stream on these shows, and hopefully we can get an audience. And then they stay up on YouTube; they can watch them down the road too. Well, thanks much. You have a good night. And Brent's fan, Quantum Gaming, thanks for joining us. Lori, thanks for joining us. You'll have a good night.